I'm really excited about what it means for us to evolve the movement right now, to build a movement where people can be who they are, and a movement with extreme rigor towards the outcomes that we have to make out in the world. And a movement that treats our people right? Like with good wages and good benefits and good health care, right? And I think, my job as president of the Human Rights Campaign, there's a lot that I can do, but there's also looking more broadly at our sector and our coalitions and partnerships to figure out how we make this really hard work as sustainable as possible for the people that do it. So I'm excited to hear about the coalitions that are happening in Los Angeles, because I think that's how we can construct this for ourselves.
Hi, Kate. I'm PJ Brescia, they, them pronouns, your host of the BabyGay Podcast and the founder of the BabyGay community, celebrating the coming out process through storytelling, advocacy, and togetherness. I came out later in life and I knew nothing about queer culture. I'm still not an expert, so let's go on a journey of self-discovery together with amazing guests, diverse coming out stories, LGBTQI plus history, and everything in between. This is the BabyGay Podcast. Coming out looks good on you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BabyGay Podcast. I am your host, PJ Brescia, they, them, and today we are at the historic Black Cat in Silver Lake, California, and I have a very special guest, Kelley Robinson. She is the president of HRC, the nation's largest LGBTQI plus advocacy group. Kelley is leading a movement at a time when visibility, allyship, and support matter more than ever. We're sitting down around Trans Day visibility, which is just a highlight that visibility is so important and so needed right now, and it needs to be matched with support and care. Please enjoy my conversation with Kelley. Kelley, this is truly an honor. You are an icon, and I am so grateful for you to be here and I want to share stories and learn about your background because you're an inspiration to me and our entire community. So
I am humbled and overwhelmed. I have to say, it is the biggest honor and privilege of my life getting to serve as president of the Human Rights Campaign, especially right now when our people, we need us. Yeah. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the beginning. I think something that for young folks that are still struggling with their identity, it's so important to learn from our current leaders that they were just like us. So tell us about your childhood.
Yeah. So I grew up on the south side of Chicago. Growing up, my mom, she did two things. So she was like a data analyst and also a bodybuilder.
Wow.
I know it's giving a superhero,
That's
right?
amazing.
And then my dad, he worked in grocery stores and he worked the overnight shift so that he could be with me throughout the day. And I just remember growing up in this family where the most important thing that they would always say is that I was happy. And for them, growing up on the south side of Chicago in the midst of fighting for civil rights for Black folks, it wasn't easy for them. They had to focus on survival growing up, but for me, they wanted me to focus on happiness. So, as I started to realize I'm a gay lady out here, it kind of came in waves and layers, but the undercurrent through it all was I knew that my parents and my family above anything else wanted me to be happy.
That is really special.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I'm in the middle of 5. I've got
gosh.
2 older brothers and 2 younger sisters. And by younger, I mean younger. My youngest sister is 11 years younger than I am.
I'm one of 4, and my siblings, I'm the baby, and my siblings are 10 to 16 years older than me.
No way.
So I'm
you
like your sister.
Hear about big families
Right?
in our generation
Yeah.
that often.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's incredible. So what was the dynamic like in terms of at the house?
Well, we're a blended family. So my mom and my dad divorced when I was 5 or 6 years old. And then my mom remarried. And I remember I used to watch Full House. Did you ever watch that growing up? And I was like, I want to have siblings and be a part of this big family. Well, my dream came true, but I got 2 older step brothers. Not exactly what I asked for. And then later on, 2 younger sisters. And we were it was a great family to grow up in. But I still had that kind of only child mindset for a lot of my childhood. It's only been right now that tightness of having siblings has really come to light, especially when my brothers have kids. They're the same age as my kids. And that part is just amazing.
That's amazing. So they can be together and grow up and have those memories as cousins, like that's so special.
Right. I mean, for me, cousins were always my first best friends, and I just love seeing them together. Right now, my oldest kid is 4 years old, and he's playing with his cousin who just kind of came over from San Diego, and seeing them together, I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the dream. This is what we're fighting for our kids and for our families, to just have these easy moments of joy.
That is something I can just totally relate with your entire being, in essence, is that we need to focus on joy. And that is what's going to get us through this difficult time. And, so at BabyGay, it's like really about sharing stories and reminding everyone that they're not alone. And it's okay in these difficult times to focus on the happy, joyous moments, because that's what's going to get through this moment. And I don't know, everything that, I did a lot of research on all these incredible speeches that you've done recently. And then just like, that seems like that is what you're sharing. And that I totally relate with that.
Yeah. And for me, especially being here in LA, the idea of storytelling is so prominent. I mean, everywhere, every person and everything. And I think that there's a story that we tell others that's really important, but the story that we tell ourselves, I think, is the most important one. The story I tell myself as Kelley Robinson, or would tell myself as little Kelley, the stories that we tell ourselves about the movement too. And when I think about where we are right now, like, I am a Black queer woman in the United States of America. If you have access to a time machine, do not put me in it, because I don't want to go back to nearly any other time period. So even though things are horrific right now for so many members of our community, at the same time, I think we have to hold that we are actually manifesting lives that weren't even able to be dreamed about a generation ago. And if that's possible for us right now, what does it look like for us to tell ourselves that story of strength, that story of power, and ultimately that story of joy that can really buoy us through these tough times?
Exactly. There's so many things I want to touch on with spirituality, but I want to go back to childhood again.
Yeah.
But, so like, what type of child were you? Who were some role models, and kind of paint us a picture.
Yeah. Well, this little girl, she talked a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a chatty Kathy. My mom tells the story that I started talking when I was 3 months old, and
That's really young.
That's this is my mother telling the story. So if you're asking about the fact versus what she I can't tell you the distinction there, but she tells a story that I started talking when I was 3 months old, and she heard me, and my grandmother, my Nana, as I called her, also heard me. And then my Nana would go and tell her girlfriends, say I've got this great, brilliant granddaughter. She's speaking at 3 months old, and, she's da-da-da-da. And they would say that no one would believe them. So they had to stop telling that story,
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe now too. But, I just always had a very kind of chatty social nature. And I was determined, if I ever saw something that I wanted, whether if it was on a high shelf or, an athletic kind of venture, I was all about it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of ruthless stubbornness has served me to this day too.
Well, it sounds like you've some of the role models that you've mentioned are just so super strong people. So it kind of just already innately instills that within you. It's like the strength that you can do anything you want, which is so powerful.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, again, just growing up Black on the south side of Chicago, I saw so many examples in my family every day of folks who had persevered, right? Both my grandparents were drafted into the war. We lived in a neighborhood where not only was there redlining, where Black people were just excluded from buying properties in certain areas, but also when they were building the highways in Chicago, they just demolished whole neighborhoods, most of them places that Black and brown people lived. So they had to endure so much every single day from a systemic level, but just from a day-to-day level, the way that people would talk to my grandfather, and still he committed to doing what he had to do to make sure that our family was sustainable. And every time I saw those examples, it just reminded me that we can endure hard things. Yeah. We can still have hope, we can still have joy, and we can acknowledge that the world is hard without giving up. Mm-hmm. I saw that in my grandparents every day, and my parents every day, and so many members of my family who have always been my first role models, my first superheroes. Mm.
Now, going to your coming out, how old were you when you came out?
That's a good question. I was trying to pinpoint it, but I think it kind of happened for me in waves.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in middle school, I had these very intense friendships with women, right? Like, or girls at that time. And I would be like, I can't even, it was like a full body experience of like wanting to be their friend, wanting to hang out with them so much. And later on, I came to realize those were crushes, girl.
Yeah.
You had hard eyes for these girls.
Yeah.
But that's how it kind of first started. And then like most queer women of my age, it came down to sports teams. I was on the volleyball team, and I just had a deep, passionate friendship with one of the other players on the volleyball team. Her name was Margaret. And then we ended up in a little bit of a situationship. And both of us were like, what is this? We're not quite sure. But that was kind of my first toe in the water. And even then, I never really identified or named myself as any label, but it just kind of opened up the world for me. And then when I was in college, I got involved on the activism side. And for me, when I think about my queer identity, it's both a matter of who I'm attracted to and who I love, but also the kind of politic of it all. And that's when the pieces really kind of came together for me.
And something that I think is not discussed enough is how coming out it's not just a singular day and then you're out. It is waves, and you're constantly coming out. I've traveled to certain states where I didn't feel as comfortable being my authentic self, and it's like, even though I have this platform and it's literally called BabyGay, and I'm very openly out, but still feeling like maybe I'm not fully safe being my true authentic self in that place. So it's like that's its own coming out.
And it's also evolving. Like being LGBTQ plus, like we don't put ourselves in the boxes that just are assigned to a letter, right? We're actively evolving into who we want to become. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about our community is that to be a member of our community, you're making the choice that you're going to let go of the boxes that are constraining so many people. You're going to prioritize your joy, your love, and your happiness over the constraints of society. And I love that evolutionary part. Like right now I can say I'm Becky sexual. My wife's name is Becky George, and that is my person. But that has been part of the evolution too. And I think it's a really, it's a really important thing to name because like you said, it's not like, one day you swing the closet door open and you're out and you get your welcome kit, though I'm glad that you do offer those.
Yes, exactly. This whole thing was never the plan. It's all just been this unfolding, and something that when I did come out, like I thought the hard part was going to be coming out to my loved ones, and then this queer community that I had zero connection to prior to coming out was just going to auto accept me and teach me how to be gay and give me friends and just sunshine and rainbows like the media was portraying it. And I'm like, where are my friends? Where are the rainbows? Like I just felt so alone in that process. And I kept before this actually came to light, I kept being like, I was expecting this like welcome wagon of sorts, and I just didn't get that. And so then we created it. So I'm really excited about that initiative. And I just feel like, now more than ever, everyone needs that extra support and affirmation that they're not alone, that they're going to be okay, period.
Yes. So, and now that we're like middle-aged gays, it's good that we can offer that to others, right? Like that's part of our evolving too I'm not going to call myself an elder in the movement yet. I did just have a birthday, but she still feels young. Thank you. But as we kind of grow into ourselves and we age and we, refine ourselves in this work, in this fight, in our identities, being able to offer that sense of security to someone else, whether you had it or not when you were coming out, is so powerful. Like that's how we're building the fabric of our communities and building the family structure, right? That many of us are trying to recreate.
Going back to your coming out process, what was some media we like to share, books, film, television, icons that were just really instrumental in your journey?
Yeah. Well, the L Word. Okay. That was premiering probably when I was just starting college, right? And the idea that you had this tight knit group of lesbian women that were friends, that were messy, that were loving, that were everything was so awesome. So we would have L Word viewing parties, and that was like pretty early on in my kind of official like I'm in this point where we would have these huge viewing parties. And when I say huge, it was huge. Like every time we had one of these, it would either be at my dorm in college or when we moved off campus at our house. And for sure, without a doubt, the neighbors were calling the police. They were like, these people are loud, they're acting up, we were really having a time.
So fun.
Yeah.
That just sounds like such a pivotal moment of Community. Like everyone needs to watch The L Word. It's such a phenomenal show. They brought back a new version of it.
Yes,
And just, I feel
Generation Q.
Yeah, Generation Q. Like I think that's something where we need to, especially now where media is kind of going backwards, like we need to continue to share queer stories. Like how I'm so thrilled, and I saw you mentioned it, like the heated rivalry of it all. Like,
yes,
it is so incredible the success that show has had, and it just, to me, it was so eye-opening. Oh, I mean, we like the queer stories are not just for queer people.
Yes.
It's for everyone.
Yes.
As long as it's a good story.
Exactly. And that's the wild thing about this moment, right? When you have powerful queer narratives like Heated Rivalry, they are performing incredibly well with audiences across the board. And yet you still see the pushback on telling our stories and putting our lives on the front of the screen. So I think that this is one of those times where we have to really be clear about why that is. It's not because the stories aren't compelling. It's because we're living in a political world that is trying to silence us. And even if I think back to my experiences in college with the L Word viewing parties, there was a part of it that was fun, right? Like we were having these kind of raucous parties that were, generating noise complaints from our neighbors. Yes, I know we should have been more polite and kind. But part of it was there were other folks that were having loud parties and people weren't calling the police, right? Part of it was a message that they were trying to send to us about who could be loud, who could be proud in any given space. And I think that we see those things coming up right now once again, whether it's here in Hollywood or in Nashville, where they're constantly attacking drag queens, or in the 9 states across the country that have introduced bills to restrict marriage equality. It is happening in front of us. But I think it's always that push and pull that exists, right? Especially when communities like ours are growing into our power. These people are fighting a future that's already arrived, okay?
Correct.
We are here, honey.
Yes. I mean, and then talk about Gen Z. It's like, what is it? 1 in 3 people in Gen Z are LGBTQ+.
Nearly 30%.
Yeah.
Nearly 30%. And I think, well, I'm excited by that. I think that there are some people that hear that stat and are terrified by it. And that's the push and pull of progress that we live in. And our job, especially those of us that, have some element of privilege in one way or another to make our voices heard, we have got to hold the line. We just did a report at the Human Rights Campaign, and it showed that just in the last year, nearly 50% of our community has gone back into the closet in one area of their life or another. Nearly 50%.
Yeah.
That is the greatest threat
to
the size of our community having the power that we deserve to have civil rights and protections across this country. If people can't come out and be who they are, we've lost the war before it started.
Yeah. That is painful. That's a painful statistic.
Yeah.
And that's, talk about National Coming Out Day, talk about like we need to be loud about acceptance and showing people that it's safe to come out. So we were talking about this offline, but I'm really excited and honored to be having this BabyGay partners with the Black Cat, and we have an incredible connection, and we have an annual event for National Coming Out Day. This year is our 4th annual, so excited about it. And on year 2, it was really powerful because we partnered with the LA City Council, and together we all officially recognize National Coming Out Day as an LA City holiday officially.
That's amazing.
So I'd love to talk about, the history of that day with HRC, because they really kind of were early on in the champion of this official day.
Yes. And we are so honored to be one of the primary stewards of National Coming Out Day. So it started in 1987. There was a national march on Washington for gay and lesbian rights, right? So the National Coming Out Day started 1 year later in 1988, not only to commemorate the march, but to keep this movement marching forward, quite literally. And it was events all across the country and the world encouraging people to come out. And I think it was important then in the 80s. And you got to remember, that's in the midst of the AIDS crisis. It's at a time when a lot of people didn't believe that they knew someone that was lesbian, gay, or bi. And it's equally important now. And the reason I say that specifically is because when I think about the crisis that's happening with our trans community, that community is in a very similar position to the lesbian, gay, and bi community in the late 80s, early 90s, right? Where not many people in the country believe that they know someone that holds that identity. And folks are real susceptible to misinformation, disinformation, and let's be honest, straight up lies about a community that they don't know much about. But through the work of activities like National Coming Out Day and partnerships like this one, people found the courage and community to be who they are and to change the narrative about our lives. We have to do that same work continually for the lesbian, gay, and bi community and double down on it for the trans community if we are going to stop this onslaught of attacks.
Exactly. And this episode is actually going to be coming out around Trans Day of Visibility.
Yes.
So just to hyper focus on the importance of the trans community and the study that HRC is doing, that, you know, if you know, most people know someone that's trans, and just that just it gives that support to this community that we need, and just to humanize the trans and the queer experience, because we all just want the same thing. We all just want love. We want family. We want community. And that's it.
That's it. You know, I was just talking to the parent of a trans kid the other day, and she said, you know, I pray for the day that I can worry more about my kid finishing their vegetables than whether or not they're going to make it to the next day.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. It's about parents protecting their kids. It's about trans youth being able to play with their friends the way that any other kid can play with their friends. It's about us just being able to live our lives. Yeah. And a big piece of this right now is this question of visibility. So I really hope that folks get involved, get loud, and use Trans Day of Visibility as a chance to show that you are an active ally and standing in solidarity with this community. You know, you mentioned this report that HRC did. We actually found that 41% of people in this country know someone who is trans. 41%. That's the highest that number has ever been. However, only about a little bit over 20% of folks feel like they know a trans person well. That right there is a defining factor. If you feel like someone is close enough to you, you start to care more and more about their lived experience, their lives, their humanity, and their dignity, right?
Yeah.
So we not only need to increase the visibility of trans folks to get to 50 and 70 and 80% like the lesbian, gay, and bi community, but we've got to increase deep connections with this community too, so that we can inoculate against these lies and ultimately be on a path so that trans folks get the same doggone human and civil rights as everybody else.
Thank you very much. Truly. It's so important. And just, again, highlighting Trans Day visibility, because I'll be honest, before I came out, I didn't know that day existed. I didn't know what that was. So it's really just about sharing information, sharing stories, and just creating community. So we formed a coalition after the most recent election of November 2024, and basically unifying the queer communities of Los Angeles. It's called the LA Queer Coalition, to come together, work together for the first time to really uplift the larger collective.
That's huge.
So a big thing that we kind of are asked is just people want to get involved, especially now, but then get a little intimidated or scared or don't know how to get involved. So is there some advice that you could share on just from your past experience?
Yeah, show up.
Yeah.
Anything is better than nothing. And I think that there are formal ways to get involved, right? The Human Rights Campaign has an awesome steering committee here in Los Angeles. There are so many fantastic organizations that you can sign up to be a part of that are tremendous and phenomenal. I think that folks should definitely do that. And there are little ways that you can take action every single day. So let's say that you're riding in your Lyft and the Lyft driver says something a little bit off about trans people. Don't be silent. Say what your experience is. Share what your story is. You don't have to have every fact to not let there be silence in the face of something that you know is wrong. Yeah. But every time that we do that, we're inviting more people in to join us in this movement than turning them away. Yeah. We're providing truth instead of some of the misinformation and lies that are out there. Yeah. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We got to vote. Yeah. We have to vote in every election possible. And if you've already voted a lot and you say you do that, great. It might be time for you to run for office yourself.
That's right.
But there are too many races across this country where folks are getting elected and being uncontested in a race, or where you've got folks who are making big decisions on school boards or even in the PTA about the books that our kids can read, about the rules regarding their recreational activities, about the information around sexual health that they're able to get, when there are people like you and me that could be sitting in those positions, right? This is a time where we've got to make sure that anybody who represents us, and I don't care if they represent us as a dog catcher or president of the United States of America, anybody that represents us, they need to know that they work for us, the voters. So we've got to make sure that we're showing up, especially in the elections that are coming up this year, because if we don't, there is too much on the line and too much at risk.
Firstly, also, I really hope you run in the future because you have my vote and you are just so incredible. Like, also, like with public speaking, like is that, are you just natural or have you done a lot of training? Because you are phenomenal.
Well,
phenomenal.
I told you, I talk a lot. My mama would said I started talking at 3 months old and I never stopped. But I also grew up in the church, right? And I know our community has a lot of different relationships with church, but for me, that was a space that I actually saw people be encouraged to tell stories, to speak to their lived experiences, or what we would say to tell their testimony, right? As a way to motivate others. And seeing that happen from the pews, it's always something that has inspired me.
Spirituality has been, so I was raised Catholic and I never felt truly, it never clicked with me. Didn't know why, but I think there was a lot going on there with my closetedness and kind of feeling maybe steered away from my queerness from my parents. And it wasn't until I came out that I actually started going to church again. And it was an effort. I lost my mom when I was 17. So I think there was an effort of me feeling a connection to her in this kind of very deep, vulnerable moment. But then I went on and felt like, how can I hold these two things? My Catholicism and my queerness, they feel antithetical, but they're not. And I've done a lot of kind of research and inward retrospection about it. But something about where I'm at now is about spirit. Like I'm just spiritual. Like I just feel like there is something greater than us, and I'm just grateful for that. And I don't know anything ultimately, and just having that faith and trust to let go and do the scary thing and go where we haven't been before, because that's how things get done. And
yes.
Yeah.
And I love that piece about having the ability to let go and go where we've never been before. Right. And there's something to me that's always been really powerful about the concept of faith. And for me, I have been privileged enough to find faith in the context of like the church. I actually grew up Catholic, but Black Catholic is a little different. Okay. It's just a little different of a vibe. But I've been able to find that in church. But as I've come into the movement space, this concept of faith is so important. The idea that we can manifest something together that we've never seen, felt, or experienced before, but believe it to be possible. And I think for me, in moments that are hard and challenging, like the one that we're in, where the world honestly is like on fire all around us, I can't take one more piece of breaking news. It gives me the ability to believe that maybe if things are worse than I ever could have believed they could be, perhaps there's a world where they could be better than I could have ever imagined too. But it takes faith and courage to like step out on that and take actions today that I don't know if it's going to get to the right outcome tomorrow, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep marching down this path. Yeah. And I'm curious about, even if folks don't have a connection to religiosity, but that experience of faith or spirituality or connectedness to other humans, how we can embrace that. Yeah. Because it's so important right now to not lose hope.
And it's hard. So like, I'm not discounting anyone that's struggling right now.
Absolutely.
Because every day is just a feat in itself. And I'll talk about my trans friends. Like every day is a really difficult one because they are being attacked and it's so unjust. And it's just where we need to know in our community that we can all take turns like taking the lead. And that's going back to this, the queer coalition, is that, you know, we all there, you know, it's kind of this group and we all lead, and there's just this feeling of communal support, and we all are going to take turns and have a meltdown because that's the world that we're living in right now. And that's okay. But someone's going to be having a good day and they can take the lead at that moment.
Yes. Somebody's going to be having a good day. Right. I love that.
So that's kind of how I'm living my life day by day, because who knows what's happening. But, and also something that you've mentioned in some of your recent speeches that I love is like, we aren't going back, and we can't go back, and we shouldn't go back, because back wasn't good either. So
Right.
we need to build a future where it is more just and equitable and just humans first.
Yeah. And what like an awesome opportunity that we have.
Yeah.
Like, how privileged are we to be the ones that were called to this particular moment in the story of human existence that could actually build a different kind of future? You know, I think about my family a lot. Our story is that we were the first free Black family in this little town called Muscatine, Iowa. I remember we went back there for the matriarch of my family, my great aunt's funeral, and we had a whole time. But as part of the celebration, we told the story of my family, and they talked about how she passed away at the age of 102. I know, right?
Incredible.
That's what I'm saying. I'm still kind of a baby gay.
Yeah, seriously, truly.
If that's the arc that we're on.
Yeah.
But she passed away at the age of 102. We had this homegoing celebration that was tremendous. And as part of the celebration, they told the story of my family, and they talked about how in the course of her life, she had sat at the footsteps of our ancestors who were born into slavery. And it took my breath away, because we're here 2 generations later. And I'm have the nerve to be standing before you as a president of the Human Rights Campaign talking about making a democracy that serves us all. When just 2 generations ago, my aunt was sitting at the footsteps of people born into slavery. We can't lose how far we have come. That doesn't mean there's not a whole long way to keep going, but we have come so far. And I wonder if part of our challenge right now is that we convinced ourselves somewhere along the way that 1, we were closer to equality than we actually were, and 2, that somehow challenging systems of power wasn't going to take real risk. And I think that we're in one of those moments where you got to hold kind of the simultaneity of it all, right? That you can experience grief and joy at the same time, that you can feel powerful and powerless at the same time, that you can have hope and also still be a little bit wary at times. But when we're able to kind of navigate that complexity, you end up in this moment where if we're willing to do the courageous thing, to take the bold step, to have a little bit of faith, we might just be able to build the world that our community has always deserved. Mm-hmm. But we have to build it together, and we have to envision it. And it's just a unique place to find ourselves.
Yeah. I would love to dive in. You were on the American Dreams tour last year. That sounds incredible. I mean, talk about going around the country, sharing stories. What were some things that stuck out to you? What some stories that you want to share?
Oh, it was amazing. And I think that kind of holding of both grief and joy, and it showed up every step of the way. I remember I met somebody who was living with HIV, and he told me that he actually had to choose paying for his next medication over paying for his next meal. Talk about the impacts of these policies and cuts to HIV funding. It was hitting his doorstep immediately. I talked to this trans woman. She'd served this country for 17 years in the military and was kicked out just because of her trans identity. You want to talk about American exceptionalism? This woman was exceptional, right? And kicked out on an ideological principle, not something that's actually supporting the safety of this nation or her ability to take and offer almost the greatest sacrifice anyone could for this country. But still, in talking with her, she had hope for a better future for this nation. And probably the story that sits with me the most was this woman named Judy. She lived on Christopher Street back when everything was going on at Stonewall, in the days of the Stonewall uprising, right? She's 80 years old now. And I remember she grabbed my hand so tightly, I could feel every bone in her hand quivering. And she said, "The only thing keeping me alive is knowing I won't have to live through much more of this." Mm. Oh. And that was someone that lived through the Stonewall uprisings. But still, right after that, I saw her sit down and mentor a young trans girl who had joined our space for the first time, and her commit to picking up a sign and going for one more march with us. Like, people aren't giving up. Yeah. And as we traveled the country, you could tell the stories of fear that we heard, the stories of harm, the stories of hopelessness. But what stood out the most was that people were not giving up, that people were doing courageous things in the most harrowing of circumstances. And that, to me, really shows that we've got the power to endure and get to the other side of where we find ourselves.
Yeah. we have to commune and find joy together, and that's okay. And, in these
Yes.
difficult times, we're flooded by these headlines that are just so awful and so devastating. And that, I think the purpose is to like keep us down and keep us scared.
Absolutely.
And we need to work harder to share those stories of joy and community and fun. And that's okay. Like, it is okay to have fun right now.
It's okay to have fun right now. Absolutely.
Yes. So on that note, how are you having fun these days? Like what grounds you? I mean, you have such an incredible job, but I'm sure it's so heavy every single day. What keeps you grounded?
This is very important. The first answer I have to say is my children, because they are like pure joy. Now, the second answer that I also have to say is Traitors.
Yes.
And basically every reality television show, from The Real Housewives to Summer House, I love it all. Yeah. There's something about grown people bickering that just relaxes me at night,
Mm-hmm. You can turn off, right?
You can turn off.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like with everything that's so hard out in the world, having these little vignettes of people on our screens that give us something else to talk about passionately, it goes a long way. So like me and Sarah McBride, the United States Congresswoman Sarah McBride from Delaware, we talk about traitors to no end. And I love that we can have a fluent conversation about policy and go just as hard in talking about reality TV. But those sorts of things I think allow us to just connect and just to be about something that's not about how hard the world is for all of us.
Yeah, it's human. It's like
it's human. Yes.
The old storytelling is the oldest form of entertainment. So we just need to lean into that.
Second oldest.
What's what?
Sex and sexuality.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's true. That's right. Also, your family is so gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
I would love can you give us your origin story with Becky?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. So Becky, George, and I, we've been married since 2020, but we've been together since 2016. So we were both
10
working
years.
10 years.
Congrats.
Oh, I got to get a gift. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we were both working at Planned Parenthood. I was working on the East Coast at the national office doing youth organizing. And she was working way up in Washington State as a sexual health educator, helping teens to get the information about sexual health to share with their peers, to help actually increase sexual health in different areas of the country, particularly in Washington State. And, I was traveling across the country supporting some of our youth work, and I found myself in Olympia, Washington, where they were having a lobby day. And it was tremendous. I mean, hundreds of youth from across the state showing up and telling their stories. It was really powerful. And afterwards, the adults got together for a little kind of adult happy hour after the kids were done with and had gone off home. And Becky and I were sent to go get some wine for this occasion. So we went to, I don't know, the Piggly Wiggly or whatever it is they have in Washington State. And we're in the wine aisle. And I remember this. We both reach out to grab a bottle of wine. Our hands touch. We looked into each other's eyes, and I was done. Yeah. I was done. I was out for the count. I saw fireworks and unicorns and sprinkles. It was just amazing. And I looked down, and that bottle of wine, it was La Marca, was actually on sale. And I thought, this is not only a queen with great taste, but she's sensible on her finances too. I was done for. And from there, we developed a really good friendship across the country. And eventually that friendship evolved into a romance. And now here, long? 10 years later, a whole lot of kids.
How long was the friendship before it turned?
We were probably friends for like 2 or 3 years before it actually turned into like an all-out romance.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And then you have 2 gorgeous kids.
Oh, yes. They are just the light of my eyes. I've got a 4-year-old and an 11-month-old. And it's just amazing. And again, like things that I just never thought were possible. Like not only having the love of my life, but these 2 incredible kids and, being able to live together in our home and build our family in the way that we want to build it. Just things that weren't possible a generation ago, and yet they are today. And I never, ever want to take any of that for granted or the people that made my life possible for granted either.
Mm-hmm. Did you always want to be a parent?
No.
No.
I had no desires to have children.
Okay.
I was trying to be out here in these streets, honey. Okay. But when I met Becky, she said that was something that was really important to her. And I always thought if I met a person that I wanted to parent with, I might be open to it. And she is the person that I want to parent with. And it's been really special, especially for someone that didn't see themselves as wanting to have children.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've been on my own. Like when I was young, I wanted 10 kids.
Really?
Not sure where that came from, but
Wow.
wanted 10 kids. Then later in my closeted 20s, I wanted no kids. I just wanted to party. And then I came out. I was like, you know what? I do want kids again. And now I am in this place where I do want kids. But I think that, day by day, who knows? But we'll see how it goes. But it's something that I
love
enjoyed.
that.
Yeah.
You just have to let the universe open up
Yes.
for you, you
Yes,
know? Like you
exactly.
said, go by faith sometimes.
Exactly.
And, we think we have plans, but the universe will tell us different.
Thank you. Exactly. So let's dive in. Like, we're a little bit witchy woo-woo, and I think words are spells. So, like, what are things that future goals, personally and professionally?
That's such a good question. Future goals. It's a really good question because I feel like I find myself in the moment, like fighting for my life all the time, and I don't get to look ahead. I've got some like short-term goals that are like very personal. I studied Italian for a long time, but never learned it.
Yeah.
So I want to learn Italian. Yeah. I want to learn how to play the guitar.
Ooh.
That's kind of on my list. My dad is like an epic musician. And I just want to, so much of my day-to-day life right now is about like helping my kids become who they are. So I'm really excited, especially for my older kid, to help him find something that he really is like into, right? And yes, he's into like Spider-Man, but like an activity that he really is into that he can kind of carry with him over life. Like maybe that's playing a musical instrument, maybe that's playing a sport. So what it looks like for me is we're out here all the time, like trying different things just to see where his passions might lie. And then professionally, I'm really excited about what it means for us to evolve the movement right now. To build a movement where people can be who they are, and a movement with extreme rigor towards the outcomes that we have to make out in the world, and a movement that treats our people right? Like with good wages and good benefits and good health care, right? And I think, my job as president of the Human Rights Campaign, there's a lot that I can do, but there's also looking more broadly at our sector and our coalitions and partnerships to figure out how we make this really hard work as sustainable as possible for the people that do it. So I'm excited to hear about like the coalitions that are happening in Los Angeles, because I think that's how we can construct this for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It's impactful, but it's also fun. And like, that's the kind of like, that's where I want to just continue to highlight that while this work, because I would say like, I never thought that I would be an activist. Like if you told my younger self that you're going to be a queer rights activist, like I would have said, what are you talking about? I'm straight. So like, it's been this, it feels, I think that idea is somewhat daunting, honestly. And the reality is just showing up,
just showing
up, as you said. And one of my dear friends had mentioned where it's like, okay, let's say you don't want to go to the march, for example, on Saturday, because that's something that doesn't work with you. Fine. But maybe if you want to be supportive in another way, you create lunches for people that are going to the march.
Right.
So there's just so many ways to be an activist that I think are not like highlighted enough.
Yes, that's so important.
Yeah.
It's about showing up in whatever way that you can.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, I have another goal.
Yeah.
We have to get a pro-equality champion in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make sure that there's some checks and balances on power in Washington, D.C. So by that, I mean getting a pro-equality Congress come this November.
Yeah.
That is a massive goal. And at the end of the day, to me, it's not about politics. It's really about protecting our community, right? And making sure that the will of the people is actually heard.
Mm-hmm.
It's about democracy, for Pete's sake. And I think we might have like taken for granted a little bit some aspects of our democracy, right? That like your vote should count.
Right.
That free speech should be protected, things like that. And, I'm reminded of the words of Coretta Scott King that freedom is never won or lost. You've got to fight for it and earn it in every generation. And this is a time we've got to do that. Mm-hmm. So if I actually had to think of one goal, it is that we do the work together to protect our democracy.
Amazing. We're going to play a fun little game.
Oh, I love a game.
It's just like a rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Which
let's
always,
do it.
I'm never rapid and the guest is never rapid. So, but we'll call it rapid fire anyways. Okay. First job ever.
Oh, first job ever. It was at a doggy daycare and day spa.
Ooh.
Yes.
What did you learn there?
Not much.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Not much.
Yeah. One word that people always use to describe you.
Well, I would like them to say joyful, but I don't know what they actually say. I'd have to ask the people.
I mean, you radiate joy in your speeches, so I'm sure that's what people would say. Definitely.
Okay. Can you tell people to
Yes,
say that?
I will
if they're
tell.
not
Yeah, I'll tell
currently
people to
saying
say
that?
yes.
Wonderful.
Exactly. Joyful. What still makes you laugh no matter what?
Oh, someone tickling me like the Pillsbury Dough person. Like I just, it cracks me up.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up. I don't know why. Ever since I was a little kid, any of that little tickle, I just.
And then
fall
do you
out.
tickle your kids? Because like kids laughing is just like so
Oh my gosh, their little
contagious.
laughs. It's so good. I don't have to. They just are always cackling about something.
Yeah.
They're cute little laughs.
What is your go-to way to recharge after a heavy week?
I like a snack. So I like particularly a York peppermint patty, a cold one,
Do you
and
freeze
a
them?
little reality. Yes.
Me too.
I put them in the freezer.
me too.
And then a little reality television. I'm so glad that you do
Yeah,
that too.
yes.
I always feel like very
I
like
freeze all my chocolate, and
old
it's so
church
good.
lady whenever I do that. But
My
yes,
oldest
okay,
sister
good.
does that too, so I think that's probably where I learned it. But and also like what's the Girl Scout cookie?
Thin Mints.
Thin Mints,
Yes.
frozen Thin Mints.
I gotta find a Girl Scout.
I know, seriously,
Yeah.
truly.
Normally they're on these corners here
Yeah,
hustling.
yeah,
you, but...
yeah. Let's go find one. Coffee or tea?
Ooh, decaf coffee.
Okay.
I'm a big
Smart.
no fun in my drinks. Decaf coffee, non-alcoholic beer. I love all that stuff.
I don't drink non-alcoholic beer. Is my go-to. It is so incredible.
It's so good.
Which kind do you get?
Athletic Brewing.
Me
I
too.
love because they have so
Me
many
too.
different kind of like craft
Yeah. Do you like an IPA?
variations. Yes.
I love the hazy IPA.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is so good, and it tastes like a beer.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does. And this is not an ad for Athletic Brewing, but we welcome you. And
That's right.
everyone should have one. They're delicious. Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings for sure. That is my favorite part of the day when you wake up and there's that stillness, the sun is coming up. Love it.
A queer leader other than you that inspires you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, Bayard Rustin comes to mind, I think, as a movement leader and activist. And I would say, like, on today, Niecy Nash, the way that she speaks truth so powerfully, oh my goodness, every time it gets me.
I also love her love story too.
Love her love
Yes.
story. I love it to death.
So
it's
incredible.
so good.
She came out later in life, so like there's just a lot of beautifulness that needs to share with her.
And when she talks about the evolution of her identity, like it's so powerful.
Yeah, so incredible. A queer artist that you're loving right now?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, are there artists that are not queer that people are listening to?
Truly.
I mean, like Chapel Roan, right? Like, she's still kind of on my playlist. I always have to double check and make sure the people I'm saying are queer and I'm not just assuming that they are.
She's queer.
Okay, just
Confirmed.
making sure. She's top of the
Confirmed.
list. Sam Smith, like you can't go wrong with Sam Smith. There are these great artists I just love in Nashville called the Kentucky Gentlemen. They're two twins. Both of them are gay, and they're country artists, and they are phenomenal.
Love
They have
that.
this track with Estelle that just is the best.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you got to check them out.
Yeah, definitely.
The Kentucky Gentlemen.
One piece of advice for someone who wants to lead with integrity.
Oh, do you trust your instincts and your gut? And don't let anybody sway you from what you know is right.
What gives you strength on a hard day?
I think I'm grounded by my family, right? Because no matter how hard the day is, if I can go home and hear those kids laughing or hear Becky fussing at the Real Housewives on TV, like that kind of stuff just reminds me of the why. I'm doing this so that we can have those little moments of joy, of humanness every day. And that makes any hard day worth getting through.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And what is something you would tell your baby gay self?
You got this, boo.
And then our last segment is called My First Time.
Ooh.
The goal, so you'll share something that comes to mind. First queer crush, queer kiss, queer date, something that, for people who have not experienced those and are excited to, but maybe a little anxious, like we're looking to demystify that process.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'll do my first queer date.
Great.
Well, I will say I'm not sure if it was a date or not in retrospect. And now she actually runs a queer bookstore in New York City. Isn't that pretty cool?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I just reconnected with her maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I actually should have asked her then if we were on a date or not. But anyway, so I was in high school and again, like a really like in this mode of like really intense female friendships. And I met this woman named Tiffany and she's like, hey, do you want to go see Stacey Ann Chin? Do you know that poet?
I don't.
Oh, she's like phenomenal, like fiery, queer woman, just everything.
I'll
so I'm
check her
like,
out.
yeah, let's go do it. The whole time I'm like, is this a date or is it not? Is it a date or is it not? We're sitting next to each other, elbows kind of rubbing. Does that make it a date? I don't know, you know? But it was just like, it was such a great experience because I'd never been to like a spoken word performance before, and seeing Stacey Ann Chen, who's like iconic, was amazing. And I remember at the end, we kind of looked at each other like, what do we do now? Is it a date or is it not? And we kind of just went our separate ways. But it was one of the, I feel like for me, those early kind of queer experiences, especially on dates, it was always a guess of if we were actually on a date or not. I will say later on I had my like official first date where I knew it was a date, and I was ridiculous. Like I was just overdoing it. So we went to like a sushi restaurant and we ordered edamame. I didn't know how to eat no edamame. So I'm gnawing on like the whole edamame thing, not just pulling out the little peas on the inside. And the whole date I had like the edamame stalk or whatever you call it tucked away in my cheek because I didn't want it to be known. I had no idea how to eat this thing. So it was a cute date. We ended up being just friends later on. But, you know, those little early experiences of not just figuring out your queer identity while dating, but just figuring out how to date, period, and be like a grown up in these situations. I feel like I have so many of those examples.
Yes, they're so hilarious and just so endearing. And you just brought me the butterflies that you experienced were just like, oh my God, is this happening? It's just such a wonderful time of life that I just am so excited for all the people that haven't experienced it yet to experience and to go on that date and to eat the edamame and hold it in your mouth. Like you're going to get through it and it's going to be an incredible memory and bring you so much joy. So
and not to lose the magic or the whimsy that happens when you're figuring it all out.
Yes.
It's really special. And I feel like even now, as like I'm in my 40s, I have a whole wife and kids, like remembering to still date my wife is so important, and find those little moments of magic with her.
Do you have date nights?
Yes. Oh, of course we do. We actually just went on a date trip, our first trip since we've had the big kid. We went to Mexico City.
Amazing.
And it was pure magic.
Yes.
But reconnecting and remembering that even though we are badass, like movement people and mamas, at the end of the day, it's me and her, you know? So it was just great.
That's amazing. And how Mexico City is so incredible.
Oh, it's stunning.
Yeah.
It is absolutely stunning.
So incredible. Kelley, this has been so special. Truly, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, I am Kelley J. Robinson on most of the social medias, especially the Instagram. And they should check out HRC, Human Rights Campaign, or HRC across social media, and hrc.org if you want to get involved with us.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so and then our tagline is coming out looks good on you.
Yeah.
So can we say that together?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Coming out looks good on you.
Yay!
Yes, that's great.
Thank you so much.
For doing
Oh my gosh.
this.